Here's another video in response to the one I made called Hair Loss Theory: Pornography Increases Balding Anxiety and Decreases Self-Confidence. I had a comment here, quote, "People who have depression and are alone look at pornography. Nick, do a video on depression and how to overcome it," end quote. Well, obviously I'm no doctor, I'm no professional, I'm no psychologist, I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. And I can't really speak on depression, but here's what I can speak on. I think we need to pan the camera out. And instead of talking about depression or anxiety, we need to talk about insecurity. We can use that word instead, because that's something I can speak about. I can't speak about depression or anxiety because I don't suffer from either of those, and I really never have. But I'm sure we've all suffered from insecurity at some point. Whether we were definitely aware of it or not, we've all dealt with insecurity, so I can talk about that. And here's what I fundamentally believe. And it could be that this also would be the same answer about depression and anxiety. I don't know. Again, this isn't actually a video about depression or anxiety. It's about insecurity. And maybe they're all part of the same family. But what I believe is most people's insecurity comes from the fact that they never got over some kind of trauma that happened to them in their life. There's something that they never really got to unpack. For some reason in their mind, they think that they're never going to be good enough. And so all it takes is the first trigger to fall in place. Oh, hairline's going back. Then that's going to be the thing that activates this insecurity. But when really it's not even insecurity you're dealing with, it's the fact that there was something that happened to you in your life, it probably wasn't your fault, that you never were able to get over and deal with. So because of that thing that happened to you years ago, you can't, part of you, your life moves on, but yet part of you stays back there in that year that thing happened to you, that you've never dealt with. And maybe it was a truly traumatic thing. Maybe you were abused. Maybe your parents divorced and it was awful and it destroyed you. Maybe it was something much lesser than that. But the point is, no matter what happens to us in life, we've all got scars. But whatever happened to you, you never learned to deal with that and get over it. And that's what I believe insecurity truly is. That's why it is that there are some guys that are 20 and have no hair on top, but they're completely confident. And then there are other guys who are 30 and have the first signs of their temples going back and they're freaking out about it. I think that fundamentally, so many people, maybe even most people, never learn how to get over everything that happens to them. And so they just say, oh, I'll just skip that. I'll just take a pass on that. I say you can't take a pass on that. I say you have to go through it to get over it. You can't just get over your insecurity. You have to get through the insecurity. You have to deal with those things. So I mean, even now as I'm saying this, are you thinking about something that happened in your life that you never really dealt with or got over? My guess is it's probably linked to your insecurity, and you artificially label it as a hair loss issue when it's that you don't know how to process that thing that happened to you, and it's always going to haunt you until you deal with it. And then from that point, it's a matter of looking forward and making sure it doesn't happen again. Bad things are going to happen to us in life. We have to be very conscious and deliberate about working through those things. Now, as for me, I didn't have some major trauma that happened to me as a child, and perhaps maybe that was my problem, is that I didn't have heavy things to deal with until I was in my 30s, my early and my mid 30s. And I wasn't quite prepared to deal with some of those things. And it took years to get through them. And I didn't necessarily have anyone to truly help me know how to deal with them. But I was able to get through it, and now my mind thinks differently. And I could tell you the solution for me, but it probably doesn't translate. It was, as I always talk about, it was me realizing to focus on what I can control and not to focus on what I can't, especially other people and other people's emotions, and not letting them affect me, to only controlling myself. But I think it goes back to putting yourself in the driver's seat of your own life. I think a lot of people have skeletons in the closet, demons in the chest there on the floor, and they're not willing to open that and confront that and deal with it so that they can move on with the rest of their life, instead of living in the year 2018 but still having a toe stuck back in that year that thing happened. Remember, this is not a video about depression or anxiety. It's a video about insecurity. If that translates to other things, so be it. I don't know anything about depression or anxiety. I can't speak about that. I have no interest in talking about that. But I think what I'm saying about our insecurities, we artificially label it as a hair loss issue. But really, it's an insecurity issue that we haven't dealt with because something that happened to us years ago, we never learned how to get over that. We never maybe talked about it. We never processed it. So when it comes to something like a perceived problem on hair loss, we're not going to be able to get over that either. And other things that are going to come into life. That one ghost in our closet still has control over all these other things that we just can't get over because it's something you can't control, right? In theory, you can't control your hair loss. So then anytime something pops up in your life that you feel that you have no control over, it starts destroying you. Instead of people like Nick Shell who say, I accept here's something that I can't control, so I'm just going to keep moving on and not worry about it. I have the ability to think that way, and a lot of you don't. And perhaps my theory is maybe that's the difference between you and me when it comes to that.